In recent years, one of the most striking developments in local activism has been the coming of Thanet for Palestine. They're people who've been protesting time after time against the unimaginable slaughter going on in Gaza, and some even prepared to go to prison for this cause. One of them is Daisy Keynes, who is with us here today. Daisy, please, thank you.
Hello, can everyone hear me? I shouldn't have worn heels, but I didn't realise I'd be at a podium. My name is Daisy, like Norman said, and I am a local Palestine campaigner with Thanet for Palestine. I joined Thanet for Palestine in, I think, December of 2023, and we have campaigned tirelessly since then, both locally and further afield. We campaigned for Feinstein in Camden. We go to Rochester to protest BAE Systems, which produces military equipment. We're everywhere, basically. Wherever you need us, we will be. But very locally, we've been targeting the Turner Contemporary and Instro Precision. Now, you might ask, why the Turner? The Turner plays as all cultural institutions do, it plays a very vital role in shaping the narratives in society. And the Turner have said sweet fuck all about Palestine, instead choosing to appease Zionist funders and backers and exercise utter cowardice. They work with Bloomberg's Philanthropies, which is implicated in facilitating settlement infrastructure in the West Bank. The Turner have accepted a total of $220,000 from BP since 2022, and BP have donated a total of $80 million since the genocide began to Israel. So it's important for us that we target these cultural institutions and call out their complicity. We've held protests and sit-ins. One of the most notable ones was during the Resistance exhibition, which was by Steve McQueen, and it was about how protest shaped Britain. They obviously didn't know that we were coming, and rather ironically, they called the police on the protest and had us removed sharply. So boycott the Turner, everyone. Please boycott the Turner. A second target is Instro Precision in Sandwich. So I'm sure many of you are aware that in Discovery Park in Sandwich, 6.35 miles from this spot to be precise, there is an Israeli weapons factory. It produces drone parts that are used to surveil and target Palestinians and ultimately murder them. So the genocide of Palestine is made on our doorstep. It is a death factory on our doorstep, and we have picketed it. We go quite often. We'll be going again soon. I'll tell you exactly when at the end of all of this. But it's very, very important to us to highlight the local targets. And direct action groups have been doing that for ages already. Direct action groups like Palestine Action, which are my personal heroes, who have been targeting these death factories, and some of them have been shut down as a result. But sadly, Sandwich remains open and functioning and creating those Hermes drone parts. So now on to Palestine Action. Speaking of Palestine Action, I've been arrested twice in the past 7 weeks for participating in the Defend Our Juries action. So again, I'm sure most of you are aware, but Defend Our Juries have been holding actions ordinarily in Parliament Square, in which people hold placards that say, I oppose genocide, I support Palestine Action. I was arrested under Section 13 of the Terrorism Act for holding that placard, and, you know, the usual rigmarole. It's a very tedious experience, actually, incredibly boring, so I won't bore you with all of it. But I ended up being released around 4 a.m. In London, and the bail conditions were that I couldn't protest in any planned or unplanned way in support of Palestine Action. So naturally, a month later, I did it again. And my lips are dry, sorry. And last month I went, and sorry, I should say that the first time I did it, there were about 900 people arrested. It was a really incredibly successful action, and it proved how completely farcical and unenforceable that law is. The prescription of Palestine Action is. It's a complete abuse of power. And I did it again last month, and again I was arrested. But this time my bail conditions differed. They were not to partake in any protest of any kind, full stop. I said to my officer, like, that doesn't seem legal. Is that legal? And he said, yeah, it's legal. And I said, okay, I'm not sure about that. And I refused to sign it. It's more symbolic than anything. I don't think it actually means anything that I didn't sign it, but I just said, I'm not signing that. Gorgeous news. I'm not signing that. And off I went. And I've obviously protested since then. One of the times was on Saturday. The fascists descended upon Connor's house in Canterbury, which is a house, it houses unaccompanied children who are having their asylum claims processed. And the fascists decided that was a really great spot to target. So I was part of the counter demo, and naturally there were a lot of police present. There's like again, you may have seen, but there's like usually a little camera crew with the police these days. They're kind of like police, but they're dressed in kind of orange garb, and there's always a little guy with a camera just recording everything and everyone, and also running facial recognition technology on the crowd to see if they can pick anyone up that may be breaching their bail conditions. And so an officer made a beeline for me and said, we've got reason to believe that you're Daisy Keynes and you're in breach of your bail conditions. It's necessary for you to identify yourself to me, otherwise it may be necessary to arrest you. Now, we don't talk to the police because the police aren't our friends, and I didn't say anything. And the police eventually moved on because they had bigger fascist fish to fry. But that's the reality we're living under. That is Starmer's Britain. That is what it's come to, and it is just a complete encroachment on our rights, on our freedom of speech. It just presents an absolute quagmire, quite frankly. And people are being jailed in increasing numbers for peaceful acts of conscience. I've got one such friend who was allegedly involved in an action for Palestine, who is currently looking at 2 years spent in prison awaiting trial. It was a non-violent action. He's being held in Exeter, and the likelihood is that he won't receive bail at any point. And he's one of tens of people that are being held currently in prison as political prisoners. Sorry, let me just get to... And I guess that brings me to like what I want for your party after feeling utterly disenfranchised by a Labour government and the complete clusterfuck of our supposedly left leader Keir Starmer. My fear, if I'm honest, is a Trojan horse. It is a promise of change, a promise of new, a promise of hope, a promise of dismantling the archaic systems and the extinction of lobbying culture, which is insidious and disgusting. Clara. Only to have that newness subsumed by the imperial court and then sold back to us as, well, it's something. We got something. Better having someone in there than no one in there, which I think is a crock of shit, personally. I love Zara Sultana and her refusal to cower to the Zionist narrative and agenda. And also, again, for me, very high on the list of things that I'm rallying for is the release of political prisoners, one of whom is my dear friend, Dan. There is no political ground undisturbed by Palestine, undisturbed by genocide. And I need a party unafraid to denounce and dismantle Israel, dismantle settler colonialism, the military-industrial complex, the rampant Islamophobia, acknowledge that our society is predicated on white supremacy and informs much of our discourse and policy. Given the oppressive and top-heavy world and structures we live in, I sometimes find it hard to imagine better or different or new entirely, but it must be possible, and I can't lose hope. Fascism is alive and well, transphobia is rampant, Islamophobia shapes much of the news we consume and the way society operates. The cost of living crisis is a dystopian phrase and a concept that we've just become accustomed to. Corruption is rife, and profit-mongering, bloodthirsty ghouls terrorize us and then dare to call us terrorists. I need a party to stand 10 toes down and unequivocally denounce this shit. No pandering and no coddling of prospective voters who seek anything less than progressivism. I personally need the old system dead. New, built by us from the ground up. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. One last thing. Sorry, one last thing. I won't keep you any longer. It is really important to basically shut down these death factories that are on our doorstep. And like I said, there is one a mere 6.35 miles away. Thanet for Palestine are having a public rally on the 5th of November from 12 till 2 p.m, where we are all collecting to say no to a death factory on our doorstep. So if you can be there, please join us. We often do convoys from Ramsgate, Broadstairs, Sandwich, Canterbury. So if you can join us, please do, and let's shut this shit down. Thank you very much.